Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss about the situation in the Palestine and Israel. As you know, today at 5 a.m. of the local time, the Palestinian forces crossed the border of Gaza and started, let's call it, sabotage operations all over the entire territory of Israel. The forces of Palestine, the Palestinians, were attacking Israel with all types of weapons they have, with missiles, with the sabotage teams, and that was obviously unexpected situation. And Benjamin Netanyahu at probably 10 a.m. of the local time collected his council, and probably he declared the war to this small sector Gaza. And also other sources are saying that official Israeli authorities reported that Iran is responsible for the situation and that Iran has also declared war to Israel. Of course, everybody has his own opinion regarding the situation in Israel. Someone support Israel, someone support Palestine, and so on. But to tell the truth, the situation is very difficult, and this situation has a lot of common with the situation with Russia-Ukrainian war. And when talking about the Palestinian forces, the tactic they use has a lot of combinations, a lot of common things with Ukrainian, for example, tactics in Kharkiv offensive operation, when the Ukrainians were using the small tactical groups to dig in as much as possible deeper in direction of Russian territory, controlled territory, to capture as much as possible and to cut the Russian forces from the supply mainland and to force the Russians to step back. So basically, from Palestinian side, we saw the same. In the morning at 5 a.m., after very powerful missile preparation, lots of mobile groups started their offensive operation, started their movements. We got a lot of geolocated videos, and a lot of them are coming, for example, from the city by the name of Nahal Oz. First, the Palestinian forces used a very interesting type of weapon. For example, in this video we can see something like anti-tank missile, anti-tank equipment. The Palestinian forces first established this equipment, after that they launched a missile, and as a result of that strike, something very big was destroyed, or probably some checkpoint or stronghold of Israeli forces. That wasn't the first attack. After these artillery preparations, for example, on this video we see, for example, Israeli like checkpoint with machine gun on the roof. It was a very powerful stronghold that Israelis were using to control the situation in the Gaza sector. But as a result of FPV drone strike, that equipment and this like tower was like destroyed and stopped functioning. And after that, the Palestinian forces launched offensive operation. Basically, they crossed the border and captured this base in the city by the name of Nahal Oz. We got a lot of videos, and the most important that the Israeli forces probably was sleeping. The Israeli forces were sleeping during those attacks, and for example, a lot of people were killed, a lot of Israeli soldiers. Sometimes we saw the videos when the Israeli soldiers were in t-shirts from the malls. They wasn't wearing even uniform. So that attack wasn't expected, and as you can see, as a result of this attack, the Palestinian forces managed to capture a significant number of armored vehicles that obviously the Palestinians will use against the Israelis. For example, this episode reminds me the first days of the special military operation when the Russians entered the territory of Ukraine with significant number of armored vehicles, but as a result of first day's clashes, the Russians were forced to step back from Ukraine, from the northern part, and they dropped significant number of armored vehicles that Ukrainians after used against the Russians in the further offensive and further clashes. So that was an epic fail of let's say Israeli forces. One more time, at some points, at some areas, the Israelis haven't even awakened. They were sleeping, and most of them were killed during the sleep. This is an epic fail from Israeli side. And furthermore, so these forces were moving further, like at least in the vicinity of the city by the name of Nahal Oz. And also we got some, for example, like some geolocation, some video from other sources trying to explain the progress of Palestinian forces. And as you can see, as a result of those attacks during the day, at least by the local time, the Palestinian forces managed even to get the city by the name of Netivot. This is the city. So basically every single settlement in this area was captured, or at least was cut off from the mainland. And the Israeli forces were forced to step back because they couldn't fight with these mobile groups. So this is the same situation in Kharkiv area. So the Russians couldn't fight because they didn't have defense. The defense wasn't prepared. And when the Ukrainians started their offensive, the only thing they could do is to step back with one purpose: to save as much as possible lives. So that was the first attack along the main supply roads to dig. They were trying to dig in deeper as much as possible, trying to cut and to encircle the Israeli forces. Furthermore, we got a lot of updates from the city by the name of Sderot. On this area, we also got some geolocations, and this is a very important video because on this video we see how the Palestinian FPV drone was dropping grenades against the Israeli forces. And this is a very important video because we see that a small Palestinian state, very small, probably some people are saying that Palestine is, Sector Gaza is ancient even state, but this ancient state managed to learn a lot of lessons from the battle, from Ukrainian war. They managed to adopt the FPV drone technologies, and currently they're using them very successfully. And we see the very old, very not flexible, big Israeli army who is not ready for this type of warfare. And I'm not sure how this, of course, people are saying that obviously Palestinian forces doesn't have even the chances to stand against the Israeli army, but you need to understand that Palestinians themselves are not able to develop this military technology, this military science to get these things. Obviously, the Iranian forces, probably Hamas and many other like forces were helping them to create this big army and to get these technologies. I'm sure that there are a lot of military experts from Iran who was supporting and trained Israeli and Palestinian people, their army, to fight and to use this type of warfare. Furthermore, some sources are saying that as a result of clashes, like a tank was, a lot of Merkava tanks were destroyed, a lot of tank drivers. So there was a very big mess in Balagan. And there were a lot of videos from the city by the name of Ashkelon. This is the next city that probably the Palestinian forces managed to enter as a result of a very fast attack using the mobile and flexible groups. And we got video from the city. The Israeli civilians were trying to hide, and they were trying to make video. We see a lot of soldiers moving along the streets, and without any problem, without any barriers, without any problems from the local police authorities. We see the Palestinian forces in the residential area. People are running. There are a lot of noise from machine guns, from light vehicles. So the situation was very difficult. Of course, we understand that Palestinians doesn't have power and forces to capture all these cities, but they can create something like a checkpoint and to stop or to slow down the counter-offensive Israeli army. And this is the most important. As I understand, the Palestinian forces have already created or accumulated significant number of FPV drones. And when the Israeli forces will start counter-attacking, let's say, of course, they will be forced to stand, they will be forced to attack another stronghold, another shelter. And while the Israeli forces will be on the open field, the Palestinian forces will attack them with FPV drones. So exactly this is the things that they're going to use. The question is whether the Israeli army has already adopted or know how to find a fight in this modern warfare, when there is no when the stormtroopers tanks has nothing about has no value against FPV drones, against missiles and these types of weapon. Very interesting situation. Furthermore, the sources are saying that as a result of clashes, another Israeli general, Nimrod Aloni, was captured. So this is another epic fail from the Israeli side. So this is the situation that took place on the northern part of Gaza. Also, we got a lot of updates from the southern part. For example, the sources are saying that Palestinian forces managed to even enter and capture the city by the name of Afakim. So this is this city is located very far from the combat line, very far. So imagine yourself, they were able to bypass these big territories without any problems, without any like barriers from the local police forces, and the Israelis were forced just to step back and to run away as far as possible. Of course, they don't want to have losses, they need to regroup, they need reinforcement, and they need to get like strict and correct orders from the military authorities of this country. For example, in this video we see how another Merkava was destroyed as a result of attack of a very cheap FPV drone. A few $1 million tank was destroyed with a drone that cost maybe a few $100, something like this. So, and this is very important because modern warfare managed to break the entire understanding of old warfare, and sometimes significant number of Merkava can't change nothing against the drone army, against the tactic of swarm of drones with FPV drones. So, and you know that I very I do really want to understand what the Israelis are going to do, because in this warfare you don't need to have significant armies, you just need to have forces that can hold and slow down the Israeli forces. And every time the Israelis are forced to stop, for example to reduce another block post or checkpoint, they will be attacked by FPV drones. And what the Israelis are able to do with this, I don't know, but I believe that time will tell us. Very interesting details and very interesting updates are coming from the southern part as a result of clashes and offensive operation. This is probably the beginning of this operation as a result of, let's say, missile strikes. Then the Palestinian forces, without support of armored vehicles, launch offensive operation. They managed to capture a lot of bases of Israeli army along Gaza. They managed to capture a lot of buildings, a lot of armored vehicles. A lot of Israeli soldiers were killed as a result of those attacks. A lot of tanks were captured. So that was a very nice operation, and we will discuss the purpose of this operation obviously a little bit later, but the most important updates are coming from the southern part of Israel. And for example, today we got the photo of, let's say, a Palestine HIMARS system, let's call it like this. As you can see, a significant number of rocket launch systems, and these systems are able to launch and at once a significant number of missiles. And basically this is exactly what we saw during the day, and the most important, that these systems are mobile. The question is whether the Israeli air defense system is the same as mobile as this significant number of equipment. I'm not sure about this. It's not a problem to collect them, to redeploy another place and to make another attack. So there are going to be lots of problems obviously, and probably the most important update is that as a result of these operations, the Palestinian forces managed to capture the Israeli F-16s, and this is disaster. I'm not sure whether this video is correct, right, or not, but the sources are saying that this video is correct, and F-16s currently not just in hands of Palestinian forces, they're in hands of Iranian forces, China forces, Russian Federation, and many other countries will split these F-16 in different small parts. They will investigate and they will develop their own, obviously, weapon. Furthermore, we got updates that currently Palestinian forces captures a lot of people, a lot of civilians, a lot of military forces, probably for the next strange exchange and maybe for the next negotiation process. And we got another video of clashes on the southern part where Palestinian forces also managed to capture significant number of significant squares of territories and so on. As an act of response, we got an update that Israelis have started bombing the Gaza with F-16s and F-35. We've started receiving videos of explosives and explosions and video how the buildings start ruining right in front of our eyes. And this is exactly the top moment that we need to discuss. Obviously, we don't know, nobody can tell, nobody can say whether the Israelis or Palestinians are able to win. Of course, most of us, I believe, think that obviously Israelis are able to win in this short war and Palestinians will be forced to step back. But the most important, as I understand, that the main goal and the main purpose of this war, at least from the Palestinian side, is to force the Israelis to make significant level of violence from their side. Obviously, we understand, everybody understand that this is the war, this is a very bloody war, and Palestinians made a very powerful strike. The Israelis lost significant number of soldiers, civilians, and so on. They're very scared, and as soon as Israelis understand that they start winning, of course, we're going to see significant number of violence. it's going to be probably even genocide, because it will be like act of revenge with a lot of blood and so on. So, and maybe this is the reason of this operation from Palestinian side, to force, let's say, the Muslim countries all over the world to connect with each other, to make like something like common things, and to start like fighting with Israelis. Who knows? Nobody knows, but obviously this is not the end. For example, the Israeli authorities have already promised us that they will they will clear the territory of Israel by the end of this day. They will that nobody will survive from the Palestinian side who is currently located on the territory of Israel, and they started something like concentration of forces for further operation. And obviously, very soon we're going to see the ground operation. Of course, the countries around Israel has already reported that if they're going to be ground operation against Palestine, like many countries around Israel will help Gaza with their war with Israelis. So we'll see what is going to be next, but obviously this is not the end, and I think that this war might take place for the next few even weeks or maybe months. So let's see. And that's it for today. Military Summer channel reminds me to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.